up, everyone? Hope we're all doing well. What happened to the golden boy, Edmen Shahbazyan? Now, for those who aren't aware, Edmen Shahbazyan is a current UFC middleweight fighter, and a few years ago, a lot of people thought he was going to be the next big thing in the face of the middleweight division. And fast forward to nowadays, and that's certainly not the case. So, in order to see what went wrong, we need to go through his resume. So here we have it, his resume, the start of Edmen Shahbazyan's MMA career. He had one amateur bout which he won, and then in 2017, he made the move to pro, got the finish in the first round, got a few first round finishes in fact, and then he went on the Dana White Contender Series, got another first round finish, so he was looking a very good prospect at just 19 years of age, I believe, at this time. Goes in against Darren Stewart, wins a split decision against Darren Stewart. I don't remember this fight, but I've heard a lot of people say it was a very close fight, but it doesn't matter because after this, he goes on to get three first round finishes. And I remember on this Brad Tavares one, this is where everyone started to take note of who Edmen Shahbazyan was. This is when I learned who he was, because this was on the Masvidal and Diaz card, which was a very big card. I can't remember how stacked it was. We'll check. I mean, the name value alone for the main event of Masvidal and Diaz and the BMF title was a big one. Darren Till on there, Wonderboy Thompson, Derek Lewis. It was a very stacked card, and he was on the second to last fight of the prelims and got the first round knockout over Edmen Shahbazyan against Brad Tavares. And Brad Tavares, a very experienced guy, been in there with the likes of like Adesanya and I believe Yor Romero and even maybe Derek Brunson as well. He was a very, he was a very experienced fighter and was no joke. And he went out there and defeated Brad Tavares by a first round knockout. It was a lovely knockout as well. Left high kick, beautiful stuff. And this is what really sparked, again, a lot of hype for Edmen Shahbazyan. I believe he was training with, I forgot the name of the guy, but who Ronda Rousey's head coach was. That fucking scumbag. Forgot his name, but you know what I'm on about. That guy who convinced Ronda Rousey that she was like the greatest boxer of all time. That guy. So, I mean, I suppose it was a recipe for disaster, but there was so much hype going on for him. Then the whole COVID thing was going on, but he took on Derek Brunson. Now, a lot of people were expecting Shahbazyan to win this one because Brunson, he was good, but he would always kind of just lose like the big fights. He was very inconsistent. He would win one here, lose one there, and that was always his career. But this is blonde Brunson, new mythical fighter blonde Brunson, and Derek Brunson absolutely hammered him. His wrestling just absolutely fucked up Edmen Shahbazyan, but up until this point, there's a lot of hype behind Edmen Shahbazyan because, again, that one with Brad Tavares, and Brad Tavares was a very durable fighter, by the way. This wasn't like a guy who got knocked out often. Brad Tavares was super durable, and Edmen Shahbazyan handled him with absolute ease. But then in his next fight with Derek Brunson, he got absolutely fraud checked. I hate the term fraud checked, but I suppose people will say that was a fraud check. After this, he comes back almost a year later against Jack Hermansson, loses by unanimous decision. No shame in that. Jack Hermansson, again, a very big name, very respectable, and a very experienced veteran in the UFC, and has been in the rankings for a long time in that middleweight division. Next fight, Nasruddin Imavov. This guy got given a death run right here. Derek Brunson, and yes, I think he was the favorite in this fight. Will it say here? I think he was the favorite. I can't remember if it will say. Yeah, he was a heavy favorite for this fight. He was a heavy favorite going into that one, just 22 years of age. And then after losing to Derek Brunson, gets Jack Hermansson in Imavov. That is absolutely insane. Gets a prospect in Imavov and gets decimated. And gets Jack Hermansson, who's very experienced, and loses that fight as well, which, it's just absolutely crazy when you actually think about it. Comes back a year later, beats Dauche Lungumbala with a flying knee, apparently, in the second round. I don't remember that fight. And then he comes up against Anthony Hernandez. Like, again, this guy's just been given tough fight after tough fight after tough fight. Loses to Anthony Hernandez in the first round via ground, in the third round via ground and pound. No shame in that either, but I suppose at the time it wouldn't have looked the best. Has a cancelled fight, beats AJ Dobson. I think he was a heavy favourite for that one as well. This is after almost a year off. Beats AJ Dobson, and then it gets Gerald Meerschaert. Now, this is the stinkiest loss of his career. He should have beat Gerald Meerschaert, and he was actually winning this fight with ease. Hurt Gerald Meerschaert, was out striking him, had him on the back foot the entire time, but then he just spunked out all of his load and was completely too slow by the end of it. Gerald Meerschaert was able to get the takedown and get the submission victory, and was a comeback victory. And then recently, just in February just gone, he was able to get the first round finish and looked very impressive. And this leads to current day with a record of 14-5 and 27 years of age, and it begs the question, can he still be a good contender in that middleweight division? Because yes, this guy is no longer an undefeated prospect now. He's got 5 losses on his record. However, he is still quite young. 27 years of age is very young in MMA terms, in my opinion. I mean, he was taking these big losses. I mean, his first loss was at 22 to Derek Brunson. No shame in that. Jack Hermansson, no shame in that. And Imavov, no shame in that as well. Even Anthony Hernandez and Jared Meerschaert, although it is a very stinky loss, it's also a very big learning curve, in my opinion, not to blow your load so quickly and, you know, chase a finish as hard as Edmen Shahbazyan did in that fight. And I really do think there is still some time for Edmen Shahbazyan potentially get up there in the middleweight division. That doesn't mean that I think he's going to become a middleweight champion or anything like that, but I do think there's plenty of time for him to assert himself into that top 15 rankings of the middleweight division. And there's still definitely a lot of holes in his game that he needs to improve upon, but I think he is capable because he's shown it before that he has definitely got the skill to mix it in there with a lot of the talent in the UFC roster. It's just about whether he can mix it in there with the higher elite fighters in that middleweight division. And usually with videos like these that I do, it's a fighter who doesn't really have any time left to really make an impact or a comeback in their MMA careers. It's just simply too late on. Whereas that isn't a problem for Edmen Shahbazyan, so I'm very interested to see whether he can actually get there one day. But that's what happened to Edmen Shahbazyan, guys. What do you think is next for him? Do you still think he can fulfill his potential that many people had for him all the way back in 2019? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.